You're listening to the Fanalist Podcast. Follow on Twitter at TheFanalystPod.
I'm Andrew, this is Tyson, and we're the Fanalist Podcast. We didn't get to this preview before the series started the other night, but we're going to jump in now and give you our predictions for the series. How do you see this one?
Both teams, when it comes to matchups, are pretty much equal in all ends of the ice. I'd say the Sharks maybe have a bit better D, and from what we've seen from Pittsburgh's offense, I think they might have a slight advantage there as well. I'll be surprised if this doesn't go 7 games. It's just that tight of a series, and I think it'll be close till the very end, close games all the way through. I see Pittsburgh taking it in 7.
Pittsburgh took game 1 3-2, and there's a lot of guys with the Sharks who were not happy with their game 1 performance. They got outshot 41-26, and Vlasic, he was a -2 for the first time this postseason. He was very vocal saying that that's not going to happen again, and I think this D group is going to really tighten up. But I don't think that's going to be quite enough because there's going to be a lot of goals scored. I see all these games, to be quite honest, from here on out, being like 4-3, 5-4. Like, I just don't see us having one of those 1-0 defensive battles in these, in this series. There's just too much offense going around for the Penguins. Bonino and Rust have really broken out. Rust took a bit of a dirty hit yesterday, which the NHL decided was not a dirty hit. After watching it a few times myself, I think Marleau was in the safe zone there. I don't think that there should have been any penalty or suspension addressed for that one. So I'm okay with the NHL's call on that. But both of these offenses are just so deep right now. Everyone is performing in the playoffs. These two teams are the highest scoring so far, and I think it's just going to keep continuing when you have Matt Murray and Matt Jones as your goaltenders.
You look at what Pittsburgh has been able to do in the playoffs so far, competing against teams like Washington and Tampa Bay. It's hard to see them not being able to go through the San Jose Sharks the way they were able to against those two tough teams. And offensively, like you said, everybody's been producing. And this is the first time that we've really seen Pittsburgh not hop on the back of a Sidney Crosby or an Evgeny Malkin. Everybody on that team has been doing what they need to be doing to get to this point.
Yeah, Malkin actually, his wife just gave birth to a child, so he's going to be pretty motivated throughout the rest of this postseason. Something about NHL players having babies that always seems to bring out the best in them. And yeah, these offenses are stacked. There's just so many weapons. You made your prediction. You said Pittsburgh in 7, right?
Yep.
I think I'm going to go, even though they dropped the first game, I think I'll take the Sharks in 7. And I don't like saying that because I really don't like the Sharks. I'm a Red Wings fan, was since I was a child, and I really didn't like the way that the Sharks beat them out of the playoffs the last few seasons while they were in the Western Conference. So it's not something that I'm comfortable saying, but it's something that I gotta say, because I feel like the Sharks, I feel like it's time for them. They've just got, they've got enough weapons with that top line with Marleau, Thornton, and Hurdle. I think I see them turning it on in this postseason or in the finals right now. And I think they'll ride Matt Jones throughout. Matt Murray, I can't say much bad about either of these goaltenders, except they're not elite goaltenders. They've been playing elite, but they're not elite. That's why I see a lot of goals being scored. I just think the Sharks are going to have more of them.
I can't say that I wouldn't love to see Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau finally lift the Stanley Cup up. I think those two veterans, they deserve one. Their careers, it would be tough to see them finish off their careers without a ring around their fingers. So I can't say that I wouldn't love to see that happen for them, but I like Pittsburgh's chances in this one.
You know what? It would do a lot for Crosby's legacy to get another Stanley Cup. Obviously, Phil Kessel, who just left the Toronto Maple Leafs last season and joined the Penguins, he'd love to get a cup here in Pittsburgh. And
honestly, if it all ends, I think there's a good chance that Kessel will win the Conn Smythe.
If that's the way it's going to go, he's that team's goal scorer. I still think that. Crosby, he's been there. He's been doing a lot, and he hasn't been getting the points. He's not getting enough recognition for what he's been doing, but he's kind of taking a backseat role. He hasn't, maybe that's a flaw where he hasn't had that killer instinct where he's taken over and just said, I'm going to go score some goals this series or this game. I'm just going to take over. He hasn't done that, but Phil Kessel is capable of getting a hat trick anywhere in this series. But I just think there's enough guys on the San Jose Sharks that are going to match that. And I think that they have the tougher defense. And even though this postseason hasn't gone the way of most defensive teams, I think this final is finally going to. And that's going to give the Sharks the edge. Tyson, what do you think this will do to Sidney Crosby's legacy if the Penguins can't get it done and win this series?
I think it will definitely hurt it in a way, but I don't think it will tarnish it by any means. The fact that he made it this far into a cup final is I don't think it's good enough, but the fact that he has a ring already, I think it definitely doesn't mean as much as it would be if it was Alexander Ovechkin, just because Ovechkin doesn't have a ring to back it up.
That's very true. A lot of Pittsburgh Penguin fans that have been watching this season, the beginning was very, very rough. There was a point where people were discussing whether the Penguins could make the postseason. In one of our podcasts a few months ago, we were talking about them as a fringe playoff team before they turned it on. And now, here they are, the number one team in the Eastern Conference when all is said and done. It's going to be a huge fight for them in order to beat the Sharks, I think. I think they have the manpower to do it. I just think that the Sharks have enough to come back at them, and by not having a stellar goaltender, they're going to be able to do that.
Thanks for tuning into the Fanalist Podcast. I'm Andrew, and you can follow us at TheFanalystPod.